Welcome back to Big Nick's Meats and Treats. Today we're going to do a treat. We have company coming in from out of town in the next day or two, and we are going to do a frozen key lime pie. We did a whole bunch of these over the holidays and they were a real showstopper. So let's get to it. You don't need any special equipment to do this recipe. In fact, you can even buy a pre-made crust if you want to. You're going to need a 9-inch graham cracker crust. I like doing them from scratch. I've done it both ways, and most of the store-bought graham cracker crusts just don't come out as good as a homemade one. So we're going to make one from scratch. So what I did here is I took 10 graham crackers. I put them inside of a 1-gallon freezer bag, and I'm going to go ahead and just use the rolling pin on these until they're basically graham cracker powder. And when you put them in the freezer bag, make sure you get it as much air out of the bag as possible before you start rolling so it doesn't pop on you. And like I said, you can do the store-bought ones if you want. We've tried a couple different varieties of them, and we just didn't like them as well, so we prefer the homemade graham cracker crust. That's looking pretty good. I'm just going to take my bowl here, pour that into my mixing bowl, and then I'm going to add 1/4 cup of sugar. And then the last thing I need to do is I need to melt 3/4 of a stick of butter in the microwave and then pour that in there and mix it up. So let me get this melted and we'll see in a second. All right, I got the butter melted. Like I said before, it's 6 tablespoons or 3/4 of a stick. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour that into the sugar in the graham cracker. And then you want to get that all whisked together. You want the graham crackers to be kind of damp. They're not going to be like super wet, but you don't want any dry ones in there, and you don't want any dry sugar. And then you're going to take your 9-inch pie crust pan or pie pan. Pour that in there. And you're going to work this around, and you want to go all the way up the edges too. So I usually just start off with my hand and get it going here. And then I'll take like a cup and start working it around the edges so it's not too thick in some places. If you get it thick in some areas and not in the others, it's going to be hard to cut when we go to serve it. So work that around. Yeah, that worked out pretty good. Okay. And then I might just pat this down with my fingers here and get this nice and firm on the sides. And while I'm doing this, I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. And we're going to par bake this crust, which par bake just basically means we're going to just do a light bake on it to firm up the crust before we do the filling. So now that I have this in there, let me clean that up a little bit. Now that I have this in there, I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees for 10 minutes. And then when I take it out, I'm going to completely let it cool before we do anything with the filling. So we'll see in a bit. All right, our 10 minutes is up and it just smells fantastic in here. I'm going to go ahead and pull the crust out. And now we have to let this completely cool before we do the filling. So we'll see in a bit. Our crust is completely cooled, so now we're going to start the filling. So what we need to do with the filling is you need to take 6 egg yolks at room temperature. And just the way I separate whites from yolks is I just run them through my hands until the egg white just falls off. So then you're going to need 6 egg yolks at room temperature and 1/4 cup of sugar. And then we're going to put that on the mixer. I use the whisk And we're going to whisk this for about 5 minutes. I'll see you in 5. All right, we've been mixing the sugar and the egg yolks for 5 minutes. The next thing I need to do is take a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk and put that in there. And this stuff is super gooey. It's like caramel. And you're going to want 2 tablespoons of lime zest. So when you're zesting limes, I would recommend a zester. I mean, you can use a cheese grater if it has real fine zesting on it, but just get yourself a zester and just make sure you don't get the pith. The pith is the white part on the lime. So when you're doing it, just kind of roll the lime on the zester while you're doing it. And then you can just tap it in like that. And you're going to want 2 tablespoons of zest and put that in there. And that's what's going to give this the dynamite lime flavor. And I didn't use key limes here. These were just regular store-bought limes. And then I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of lime juice. I actually juiced the first 4 limes that I zested, and I got about a 1/2 cup. So I am going to top it off with this. I bought this at the grocery store. This is actually key lime juice. So I'm going to finish getting to my 3/4 of a cup with this. And I'll add that. And now I want to mix this again until everything's mixed up. Take a couple of minutes and we'll be right back to you. All right, we got our filling all mixed up and now we're going to add it to the pie crust. And you may end up having a little bit extra. I take it as far to the top as I can get it. This can be perfect. Ooh, yeah, that looks good. And now I'm going to put this in the freezer for several hours until it's completely frozen. Okay, so you don't want to do anything else with this until it's completely frozen. So you got to find a flat spot in your freezer so it doesn't spill. And make sure it's completely frozen, and then we'll work on the topping. We'll see you then. All right, our pie is nice and frozen now, so I'm getting ready to work on the topping. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 cup of heavy cream. And I'm going to whip that in the mixer until I start to get soft peaks. And that's going to take several minutes on high. So we'll see you in a second. When you start to see the cream start to thicken up, I'm going to take a 1/4 cup of sugar and slowly put that into the heavy cream. You don't want to do it all at once. You want to just do a little bit at a time. And we're going to do this until we get stiff peaks on the whipping cream. That's going to take several minutes. I'll finish this up and then we got one little more thing we got to do for it. We'll be good to go. Last thing we want to add to our topping is 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. We'll put that in and mix it up just a little bit more. Doesn't take very long. It's looking good. All right, I think we're good to go. Now when you put this on the pie, you can just spoon it on and use a spatula if you want. I'm actually going to pipe it on with a piping bag. So to get a piping bag ready, I already got my tip on there, everything, and I took a glass, put the piping bag inside the glass, and I'm just going to take my whipping cream and put it down in my piping bag. And this just helps you control the bag when you're putting whatever it is that you are inside of it. And this is just gonna make it look more decorative, so it makes it look like I know what I'm doing when the guests get here. Makes it look fancy. Okay, I'm gonna get the pie out and we're gonna pipe this on. All right, we got our pie out of the freezer. It wasn't perfectly level. You can see it looked like it was almost getting ready to spill out. And I'm just gonna go ahead and pipe this whipping cream on. I'm gonna start on the outside, work my way around. I'm definitely not a pastry chef, but I'm just trying to make it look as fancy as average Joe can make it. I'd say that looks pretty fancy. I gotta keep the pressure on the bag here. Keep working my way around. Should be just about the right amount to cover the whole thing. Okay, I'm going to finish this up and then we'll get back to you for the last little step that you got to do. All right, we got the whip topping on there. Came out pretty good. Like I said, I'm not a professional, semi-pro. And next thing you need to do is put this in the freezer for several hours and let it just completely freeze. Okay, we're actually going to serve it frozen, and I'll talk more about that when we actually do it, when our guests get here. We're going to serve this in a couple of days when our guests get here. And I'll tell you the process that you need to do to get ready to serve it. Until then, I'll see ya. All right, we're back. We're gonna cut into this thing today and have a good taste. We were gonna wait till the weekend, till our guests came, but they called today and it turns out they all have colds. So we're gonna postpone them coming over. So we get to eat this pie and I can't say that I'm disappointed. So when you're getting ready to serve it, you have to let it sit on the counter for at least 5 minutes before you cut into it and serve it. Okay, that's going to help it thaw a little bit. If you need to, you can run your knife under hot water to make it easier to cut, but you want to serve it frozen because it just gives it that kind of key lime pie ice cream type texture. So let me go ahead and get a taste of this here. Wow, that is limey. That is so good. It is exactly like key lime pie ice cream. The frozen whipped cream on top, the graham cracker crust, everything in there just tastes fantastic. Really, really good. Be great for your barbecues, summertime, or special guests. Super easy recipe. I recommend that you try it. It's just not that hard at all. Super, super fun. Big news. We got ourselves a brand new smoker. I'm super excited to show it to you. The weather has not been cooperating though. It's super cold outside and we got a little bit more snow, so I can't get the smoker out there and do the walk around for you, but we're gonna be doing it this next week. So make sure you give us a like and a subscribe so you can keep up to date on all the new videos. And until we see you, watch me work, baby. Watch me work.